Shout out Bruce Gas, aka Token 2. You know I had to drop a track for my boy.
Where you at?
Ha, yeah, I've been in your rapping boys out here telling favors. I'm the hardest young nigga, I ain't signed to no label. Hey, Bruce Gas putting them fights on the table. Calling that Boston since Kane versus Abel. Smoking so much gas, you would think that shit was fatal. The people's champion like Muhammad Ali. Shout out Bruce Gas, one day we gon' meet. Yeah, we gon' blow it down, we gon' smoke hella weed. Yeah, we gon' blow it down, take a hit out the Token 2. Slipping hella shots, feel like Tyson with the peak. Little Glock on my side, but it hit just like Isaac Cruz. Shout out man, Chad, real shit, that's my fucking dude. We always cooking on the pan. Strapped to my side, I ain't talking about no sand. Bruce passed me the blunt, I'ma light it like a candle. Ayy, non-stop bars, man, I always spit flames. Feel like Bruce Gas always got a different strain. Bitch, you ain't like me, you can never feel my pain. You win and you lose, well, this a fight game. Don't beef on the net and the shit won't change. Said that on the stream, gotta do it for the game. Said that on the stream, gotta do it for the chat. I ain't undisputed, yeah, hold on, I ain't undisputed, but I want all the straps.
Good evening, family. Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday Night Fights. You got your boy Bruce Gas over here, man. I got my sidekick from Tuesday Night Fights from day one over here, my brother George Jakovic. Good to have you here, my brother George. How is things going this evening?
Everything's good, man. It's Tuesday, so you know it's a good day, and we got a New Jersey native coming on the show today, so you know I'm pumped up.
Yes, sir. We're waiting and anticipating. You know how these rock stars are, bro. You know they're never on time. They told me they're not. Bobby told me yesterday he's never a minute late. So we'll see.
Well,
and
technically he's not. He's 2 minutes late. So maybe he literally meant I'm never a minute late. So you know, hey, it's great to have Bobby because Bobby, I was probably 12 or 13 the first time I saw him fight, and being from Jersey, of course, you know, Bobby Czyz, he was like you had up the matinee idol. He was being groomed at 160 pounds to fight Hagler. He was a big star.
I got let me see here. Okay, I'm gonna hop in a few minutes. I've got a bunch of okay, yeah. Trick is on his way.
Nice.
I'm sure our other connections are going down over here, man. And I'm so looking forward to this. In fact, you know, George, I'm gonna need a few tokes for this, bro. Hey, until they get here, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing for the past week or so?
There is a ESPN show that I'm producing. It's on the Archer Beterbiev and Joe Smith fight in June. So that's flying a little under the radar now because we've had so many great fights, and you know, Charlo and Castaño have a rematch this weekend. So I think that fight is the Smith Beterbiev fight is in June. So once we get another few weeks closer, I think that's going to get a lot of attention because they're probably the two hardest hitters at 175 pounds. And that division just got a whole lot more interesting with the way Bivol just dominated. He made it look easy at times in that fight. And I thought he could win, but he made it look easy. Now, what was crazy was the judges' scorecards. Yeah. But at least the right guy won. So, but yeah, that's what's going on with me. I'm just enjoying. Look, Bruce, every week we've had, it's nothing but big fight after big fight after big fight. It's been a great run. I say this every week because it just keeps going.
Every week, it's like fight after fight. This week, I know we've talked. Well, you and I haven't spoken on it, but the internet's kind of almost tired of talking about it. The upset we had this weekend, man. I don't know about you, bro. I think that was probably the biggest upset of the year so far, easily.
Well, easily. You know, I guess I don't know. It definitely is a big upset, but I think a lot of people knew that Bivol was a good fighter and had a shot against Canelo. I mean, HBO signed him. Is that Bobby?
Good. Keep going, George.
HBO signed Bivol. This is years ago. They put a lot of muscle and money behind him because I think they thought he was going to take over, and he never quite did. He was undefeated, but he kind of didn't have a big name fight or a big money fight. He didn't look great in his fights, but they saw potential in him, and it all came out once he got that opportunity against Canelo.
Yeah, I just got a text from Trick. He said, "Is Bobby there?" I said, "No, not yet, man." Man, I hope the technicalities doesn't bring this down. I'm sure he's going to get here. I spoke with him for a good time yesterday, and
the show must go on. Even if Bobby doesn't come, it can still be a Bobby Ches night. The show.
Yeah, but I'm not that bad of a guy, George. I'm not going to get burnt on this. I know Bobby's going to show up. I'm pretty sure Scott Pemberton's going to show up.
I'm sure he is.
I mean this, and my man Mad Chad. Where's my brother Mad Chad?
Yeah, you got to give some shout outs to the folks that are on.
Oh, for sure, bro, for sure. Absolutely, man. Who's the first one? Mr. Pad's my brother. Always showing love and support over here. Mr. Pad, shout out to you, brother. Mick Smith. Mick Smith is here all the time. I love Mick Smith. Shout out Mick Smith. Carl the Crocodile Hunter Hansen. All the way from Australia, George. If we don't run an international smuggling ring over here, I don't know what we do, bro. My boy G5 Jeff TV over there, man. Shout out to G5 Jeff TV. Always got a great show every day, every afternoon around 5 over there, man. BK, shout out to you, my brother. And it's early yet. They'll be rolling in. We got somebody just came back there. Hey.
Bobby Ches.
The star is here. Chappie, what's happening, my brother?
I'm having trouble with my phone. It's driving me nuts.
Oh.
That's okay. You're here.
Well, I hope he comes back again, my brothers. Rolling with the punches. Salute. At least you know we're not bullshitting you. When we said we got Bobby Ches in the line, he's having.
We just had a Bobby Ches sighting.
We had Bobby Ches flew over the building. Here he comes again.
Can you see me, guys?
We see you and we hear you, brother.
All right. What's going on, fellas?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, hyphies, shout out to you. Bobby Ches, bro. You're gracing my show over here, man. Salute, brother. Salute.
No, I appreciate that. I'm flattered, bro.
Hey, bro.
Hey.
If anybody out here has been living under a rock, you mind if I tell them a bit about our guest over here, bro?
Knock yourself out. All
right, man. We got Bobby Ches here. Bobby Ches, he was on that Olympic team, and I'm sure we got a story about that too, Bobby. The 1980 Olympic team.
Well, you know what happened? Yeah, in 2 days after Christmas, December 27th, 1979. I was 17. I was driving to my girlfriend's house that night. I was going to go say goodnight to her, and I was going to talk with her and her parents. I fell asleep at the wheel, drove off the road, hit a tree, broke my nose, smashed up my face real bad. The doctors told me that I didn't have time for my nose to set and everything to fix to go on the U.S. team to the fight in early March. I just didn't have time. My nose had to be set for 6 weeks, and then I couldn't box afterward for another couple. So I withdrew from the trip, and the plane crashed, and everybody died. And I was like, oh, my God.
So that saved your life.
Correct. I mean, it's the weirdest. Here's what happened shortly thereafter, because I didn't know about it right away. And my father, who gave me a tremendous beating for getting in this car accident in the first place, because I'm 3/4 Italian and 1/4 Polish. So I have 3 grandparents from Italy, 1 from Poland, Warsaw. And, that's how I have such a great Polish following. But anyway, my father was so upset that I didn't get to go on the plane and that he gave me a beating. I mean, a bare knuckle beating, and I wasn't allowed to raise my hands to even block him. And it was bad. And then fast forward to March, when the trip happened, when the plane crashed, I just got home from school, and my father called. My mother picked up the phone, and she said, "It's your father. He wants to talk to you." And I went, oh, Jesus, probably about the trip. And I know because the trip was that time, like around March, early March. So I said, hello. And he said, he used to call me Chappie. And I used to call him Chappie. And he said, Chappie, you remember that trip to Poland? I said, yeah. He said, they're all dead. And when I say a chill went up my spine, I froze. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was actually slated to die. That's kind of a weird thing to be, you know, thinking. Oh my goodness gracious! It's
Wow.
It's just there's no words for it. There really isn't. You know,
Right.
I'm not, and I'm, you know, I don't really. I'm not religious. I don't believe in a single deity. There's over 3,000 religions now. Since 2010, there's now an extra 11 or 13. Is 4,100 religions. So I don't know which one to pick. so
Hey,
I just stay away from the whole thing.
Bobby, we got George Jakovic up there. He's my co-host, and we have Mad Chad over here. And hey, we got somebody up here. I think you might know that just stepped in the back room. Somebody I met a few months ago. We had a little show with. Man, we got the Sandman, Scotty Pemberton, joining the action over here, Bobby.
All right,
Scotty.
Bobby Czyz. What's
Scotty,
up?
Thank you for coming in.
What's up, Sandman?
We'll treat
Thanks
you.
for having me, man.
Oh, bro, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. From Bristol, Rhode Island, down to Fairport, Mass. Is that where you're at now, brother?
I live in Dartmouth, Massachusetts.
I'm looking at you right now from the Monhoe Bay, brother. I'm glad to have you here, bro. Shout out.
Glad to be here.
All right, man.
My pleasure.
Hey, Bobby.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, Bobby, I'm from Rahway, New Jersey. So growing up, I was about probably 13 when I first saw you fight.
I know that area. Yeah, I know that area. Rough area.
Yeah. I figured you would, but it's great to be talking to you because growing up, you know, I watched you fight, and you just talked about your dad, how things were. It's funny because you were on TV all the time, and you were known as the matinee idol, and you know the way TV portrays people, like you had this great life and everything was wonderful, but I guess, you know, things weren't perfect at home.
You know, things are not always what they seem like on the surface.
Right.
If you dig into it, my childhood was pretty rough, and it was not, and it was never really a nice day in that house. So I don't really talk about it that much because I feel bad that my dad's gone, and I got to accomplish everything that he groomed me to do. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I would have never been a fighter to start with. So this is the results are from basically what he's done, and he literally beat me to be good. Unfortunately, it worked. Or fortunately, it worked. You know, it's an ugly story to tell. At the same time, I remember one time when I first got married, I was sitting at the table with both my brothers, my mom's boyfriend, who's now my stepdad, my wife, and her mother and her sister. And my brothers were looking at, we were just sort of at the other end of the table. And my youngest brother, Tony, looked at me and he said, "We're not like other people, are we?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You know what I mean." I said, "Yeah, but let me ask you a question. If you could go back in time and trade it all for pampering and easygoing, would you do it? Or would you stay who you are now?" He said, "I like who I am now." So do I. There's not anything you could throw at me that I can't handle, and it's because of the beatings and all the things I took back in the day. The horrific nature of some of it. In today's climate, my father would be in prison for 30 years.
Right.
And look, that's in the old days it was different. In the old days, I got beaten public.
That's how it was. I remember that's how it was back then.
I know.
Back then, my father, he took off his belt. He said, "Turn around," and wham, and that was it. And look, you knew what the consequences were. And I just wonder sometimes. I don't know. I try not to wonder too much. I just leave it alone.
Hey, let me shout out a couple more people that came in the building, man. Shout out to Tay Brown. Always classes up the joint, man. Shout out to you, man. BK, Andrew Charles. Thank you guys for coming in here, man. We're talking to Bobby Czyz, and we're talking to the Sandman, Scotty Pemberton, my brother Trick Nolte. He hooked us up, man. I got Mad Chad over here. Mad Chad, you want to say anything to Bobby Czyz? Because Bobby, this is my brother Mad Chad, big fan. Scotty, he was on a show. You remember the show you were on with Mad Chad, myself, It was almost like a Friday night kicking back. We were drinking beers and watching fights. We watched you and Omar Shika, bro.
You're asking me if I remember?
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong guy, Bruce.
Because I got two guys here, man. Like Bobby. I used to buy boxing magazines, late 70s, 80s, man. My wife says, let me pull up one of your magazines, see if there's anything about Bobby in there. She pulling magazine after magazine, bro. I mean, just one of them. Let me show you this.
Well, you know what? In boxing, going back into the 80s and the 90s, boxing was a little bit skewed, and by that I mean this: if you were a white guy and you had an undefeated record, that means you were fighting in Oklahoma or in Kansas City, where there was no real talent. Yeah, that's okay. Robbie Sims. So that's when people decided that I could actually fight. When I went 10 rounds with a guy who was undefeated, that could actually fight and was a South.
20-year-old Bobby Czyz.
Yeah, back in the day, it was. I wish I could go back in time.
Bobby.
Yes.
But Bobby and Scotty, George, everybody, I'm honored to be here with you, Bobby. A big fan during the 80s, that run. You were like Larry Bird from Hicklick, French Lick, Indiana, when he played Magic Johnson. He was just the white guy played nobodies. You got legitimized when you stepped.
Here's the funny thing. And I'm glad you brought up Magic Johnson, and I'm assuming not Magic, but Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and all those guys. But here's the thing. Someday, you may understand this, you may not understand this until the day you die. They used to call me the white boy with soul, and I've had at least a dozen reporters say to me, "What the hell is soul? I don't get it." So I tried to explain it to them, and then one day I said, "Okay, I got it." Larry Bird, picture perfect, technically perfect. I mean, a technician in basketball. I mean, brilliant. Hall of Fame forever. But he moves like a white guy. And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, Michael Jordan, his body can go in two different directions at the same time, and then he dunks the ball behind your head and after going through your legs." I said, "That's so."
100 miles per hour.
Yeah, he said, "Okay, I get it now." It's a little different. They have a different rhythm. Boxing there's a different rhythm for black and Hispanics. They have a different rhythm. It's not always easy to imitate or emulate. It's just the way it is.
On a dance floor or anything. Bobby, and again, you were talking about your old man, kind of, grooming you to be the fighter you were, But Bobby, honest to God, I know you mentioned you're not into the God thing, Diddy. I do believe in God, and I believe God gave you an ability. You would have survived regardless of what, your dad, what personality he would have had with your brain, with your intellect, with your strong will, Bob. I think a lot of that stuff is just in you and your DNA from your grandfather. It might have skipped a generation. I'm just saying you come from a hardened family with that DNA and your brain separate. You're in the 2% intellectually. You could have been Elon Musk if you didn't put on the rings. I mean, who knows where your brain would have took you? You are a genius.
Well, I'm lucky to be a genius. That's true. But I beg to differ a little bit in that I have two brothers, Vince and Tony, and I'm not going to single out the next statement, but one of my brothers, my father actually physically broke him, and he didn't have the innate toughness to go past that, and it changed. It stayed with him forever, and I don't think that I could ever forgive my dad for that. But at the same time, it's not my call. Everything is what it is. Think about this: hydrogen is a gas. Oxygen is also a gas. They come together at the right time. They're water, H2O. So stuff is just what it is.
Well, Bobby and Scotty, I guess first, Bobby, how's life today? What's been going on with you, Bobby?
It's very funny. I just recently, as in 2 days ago, I was supposed to start doing commentary again for bare knuckle boxing. They made it legal again. But here's what happened. They had a problem raising with money that was being raised. They had some infighting in between the guys, and some things got messed up. One of the fights got canceled because the main event couldn't make it. He couldn't get a visa to work here in the United States. So 4 years ago, I got offered the same position, but not for bare knuckle boxing, for real boxing, to be a broad, color commentator again. So I'm going to pick that up in the next few months. That looks like what I'm going to do again.
That's awesome. I thought you did a great job at commentating.
I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. That was not only just I got to stay in my realm. I got to stay where I was comfortable, and I love the fighters. I know what they go through to get there because I went through it too. And just because our skin may not be the same color, we haven't gone through the same hell. Trust me, we have.
Yep.
How about you, Scotty? How's life been?
Life's all right. I drive truck for Waste Connections, and it's a living,
My boy Anthony's being real quiet.
I have a 14-year-old son. He's the youngest, and he just started boxing a few weeks back, and he actually really likes it. It's not something that I ever pushed on him because I really rather him not box, but if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. And he's 14 years old. He's about 6 foot, and he trained for 2 weeks, and then I had him spar because I want to see, you got to know what you're in for. And he sparred a 22-year-old man, and he did very well. And he only trained for 2 weeks. So
that's nice. That's
I
good.
think he's got it.
Well, that shows he's got some talent and he's hungry.
Yep. But right now,
And you're training him?
Yeah, I've been training him. Right now, I'm trying to teach him a little bit more defense than I had.
Defense is a good thing.
So, but he's doing well. But right now, he's trying to concentrate on school, and soon as school is over, because he hasn't gone for a few weeks because he's just trying to get really because this whole epidemic thing with the COVID-19 and stuff. He was in school like half the year, and he's been having a little tough time. So right now, he's just trying to concentrate on school, and soon as school's over and summer vacation, we're gonna start hitting the gym hard and see what he's got.
That's awesome.
Bobby, I'd like to ask you a question here, man. In fact, I'm going to use my close stream again here. If you notice, the light heavyweights, number 1 and number 2, we got Thomas Hearns and we got Bobby Czyz. I mean,
Well,
bro,
that would have been a hell of a fight. But I'll tell you
that
what
was
though.
my question. Why wasn't that fight made?
All right, I'm gonna explain this to you, and you're not gonna like it. Tommy Hearns, his trainer was Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart knew me since I was 15. One of his fighters at a Kronk beat me, a guy named Rodney Trussell, in the Nationals. And so Emmanuel Stewart knew me. He knew what I was capable of. He knew what I was bringing to the table. At the same time, he knew what Tommy was bringing to the table and what would basically happen in the long run. No matter how hard Tommy hit me, I'm still going to be there no matter what. And at the end of the day, I was going to catch him. When I did, he was going to go. And Ram Barkley will never be considered a better fighter in history than Tommy Hearns, a 6-time world champion. But Ram Barkley knocked him out the first time and beat him crazy the second time. So it just goes to show you it's about style sometimes. Some things you can't get over. If you're not tough enough to get in there with somebody who's tough and can bang, you're gonna have some trouble.
Hey, Emmanuel Stewart was a smart man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was, and Hearns stayed away from him.
That would have been a money fight. That would have been oh man, that would have been, dude. Whew.
That was my dream fight, but it kind of got away from me.
Now I'll tell you another fight. In fact, Trick Nolte, my brother, Trick Nolte, who set this all up, man. Thank you so much for Trick Nolte. And you see what's down there in our banner, man. If anybody wants to help out Trick, because Trick is an amazing guy, bro. Trick brings these fighters together, brings them to talk to me. It's like, man, it's the cliche around right now, but we're giving you your flowers while you're still with us, bro. Because really, man, bro. I'm on the south side of life, man, and to me this is revigorating. This is like opening up one of them Ring magazines I bought in 1982, and it's talking to me over here, you know? Like I did a hit of Sunshine, and the fucking Bobby Czyz and Scotty Pemberton, they're going back and forth on my show, bro. This is great. I want to thank both of you, and I want to thank Trick Nolte for setting it up, man. So, man, I wanted to say that before I forgot it, man. So, shout out, bro. Thank you.
Where's Trick hiding?
Oh, gravy.
He's down in the left-hand corner over there.
You see me?
Yeah, his voice isn't coming. I can't hear him.
Go ahead, Trick.
You can hear me? Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you
now.
Y'all hear me? Oh, okay.
We're hearing you, my brother.
Everybody okay? Good, man. What's up? It's the SANDMAN. That's my man right there, Scott. Hey, tell him, man. I hit you up every week checking on you, man. That's my man right there, Scott.
I just saw sound for about 5 minutes, and I was over here scrambling, trying to get the sound off. I think my AirPod died or something, but now I got sound. I was, oh no, what's going on? But I got it.
You guys are live. I knew we were supposed to do the show about an hour before the show. My phone, the whole line went dead, and I couldn't. And I had to find a new charger for it.
What did you tell me yesterday, Bobby? You're always the first guy there.
Or there's a reason.
Yeah.
Or there's a good reason.
We got it. Hey, let me shout out Slide Encounter, Oscar Prince who stopped in, man. Thomas Jones, my brother. Seawood. Boxing Progress. Tony Boswell, man. I thank you guys for stopping in here. You know, we're talking to a couple of legends up here, man. And Teach, thanks for stopping by, brother. We're talking to the SANDMAN, Scotty Pemberton. He's practically my next door neighbor over here up in New England. And we got Bobby Czyz, the matinee idol. And man, you know, Scotty, we're definitely gonna talk about your fight with Omar Shika here. But I want to ask Bobby about this fight that he had, man. They said this guy's a failed middleweight. He's a washed-up light heavyweight. And what are you doing putting on the ring with Robert Daniels? He's stronger. He's bigger. And Bobby, you proved one thing, bro. You proved you were smarter in that fight. You want to talk a little bit about that fight, bro?
Here's the thing. When I was younger, I boxed more. And as I grew up, my legs were pretty short for a big guy. And I filled out nicely, but I didn't really get a lot of height. So my arms are really short. I mean, I have a 68-inch reach on somebody who's supposed to be 71-inch reach. So I have short arms and short legs. So that's going to immediately give me some, disadvantages. So I had to change my style a little bit as I got older to get in the inside and bang a little more, a little harder, and punch a little smarter. So as time would go on, that's what would happen. As a matter of fact, in the Daniels fight, it was one of the few times I fought a guy smaller than me at the same weight. He was a couple inches shorter than me. But after the fight was over, they said to Daniels, they said, "What happened? You were supposed to kill him." He said, "I had no idea he could box like that." See, when I fought out after the first round, I couldn't punch with him. I couldn't. It would not be the right way to go. So after the second round, I went out to the second round. I started boxing and moving. Now here's the weird thing, though. I boxed and moved so much in the fight that after the 10th round, I went back to the corner, and my trainer looked at me and said, "What's the matter with your feet?" My feet were bleeding through my shoes. I had rubbed the skin, the balls of my feet. I had rubbed the skin off both of my feet, and trust me, it hurt like hell. And my trainer said, Tommy Park said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I'm gonna go out there and kick his ass. That's what I'm gonna do." And I went out, won the next 2 rounds, and won the fight, and went on to be Cruiserweight champion of the world for a while. But it's not always a fun sport.
Hey, Bobby, in the 80s when you were with Main Events and Lou Duva and those guys, what was life like? Because you guys had Rocky Lockridge, you had so many great fighters in that stable. What was life like back then?
Well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, they called it Tomorrow's Champions, and we all like to think that we all had a shot at it. Not everybody won the title, and it's really funny because everybody thought that they just threw Bobby Czyz in because he's a token white boy. Now, one of the fighters was a heavyweight, but he was also white, but he didn't do very well.
Chris McDonald, bro.
Say again?
Chris McDonald.
Yeah, he did okay, but not real good.
No, but he's my homeboy. He's from Rhode Island too, bro.
Right, but he didn't get to a title or even close to it. You know.
No. I think James Bone Crusher Smith derailed him.
Yeah, he got hurt there pretty big time. But all the other fighters, you know, they used to say you don't fight like a white guy, and I used to look at my hands and my arm and say, am I really? I'm not white. Is that white? I used to joke with him. It was our own personal joke because I was one of them, and I went on to win 3 of the world titles in 6 divisions. None of them won 3. A couple of them won 2. Some of them won 1, and some of them won 0. And they were all Olympic champions or medalists at least. And you know, you can never tell who's going to be the underdog.
Wow.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
You know, you brought up the Robbie Sims fight, Bobby and Scotty. I don't mean to ignore you, but the Robbie Sims fight.
Listening to you guys talk, man. It's cool.
I was reading about the Robbie Sims fight, and I didn't realize that we all know that was Hagler's brother. Hagler was at ringside heckling you during the fight. What's that like fighting Robbie Sims, and you've got the middleweight champion of the world heckling you during the fight?
Wow.
You know what? I didn't really care. It didn't matter. He can't beat me with his mouth. He can't. I mean, it's technically impossible. But here's the thing. Look, Marvin was a big deal. You know, beautiful. I mean, wonderful fighter, one of the best middleweights of all time. And you know, I guess Robbie Sims patterned some of his style, being a southpaw, boxing, more of a boxer than a puncher. But I didn't care. It didn't matter. I mean, I had a mission, I had a job to do, and that was it. Because it was just going to get done. I realized that the judges might give him some of the rounds that were close, and I thought that the judging was not as fair as it should have been. But as long as I won, I won.
Let me shout out a couple more cats that stopped in the building over here, man. I appreciate it so much, man. Sliding counter. I don't know if I got you yet, bro. Thank you for coming in. My brother Dooku, I host fourth quarter. We do a show on nutrition, health, and that's another thing, Bobby. We were talking about that yesterday, bro. How are you the ageless wonder over here, bro? You don't have a gray hair in your head, man.
You know, it's really weird. I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida now, and I had to change doctors. I moved from Jersey. And I went to the doctor and I said, listen, I want to do a blood workup, just a regular, no specifics, but just a regular checkup. So he takes 2 pints of blood, and he calls me back about 5 days later. And he didn't know who I was. He didn't know I was a boxer and a world champion and all that. He called me Robert. And he said, Robert? He says, Dr. Lozandier. I said, what's up, Doc? How's it going? He said, everything's fine. He said, I have a question. Are you really 59 years old? Now that's before this year because I just turned 60 in February, but so this is about October or September maybe. He said, "Are you really 59 years old?" I said, "Doc, why would I lie to you?" He said, "No, you don't understand. You have 30-year-old blood." I said, "What?" I said, "I never heard of that." "I have 30-year-old blood?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I have 30-year-old sex drive too, I guess."
Wow.
And I mean, I was trying to joke with him, but he was so serious that he was like almost upset that I was, almost upset that I was so fit. My blood was so good. So he had set me up because I have high blood pressure. He set me up for another appointment for an EKG. So I went in, and the specialist in this particular area was a lady. She did all her stuff, and I told her about my car accident, 2007. I flatlined on the operating table twice. The scars are written on my chest and whatever, but that I got a good heart. I'm okay. So she does all these tests, and she says, "I'll see you in about 25 or 35 minutes." So she comes back, and she looking at me funny, but like not a good funny. So I thought, oh shit, I'm gonna die. So I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Nothing." I said, "No, really, what's the matter?" She said, "Nothing, absolutely nothing." I said, "Doc, don't mess with me. Come on, just tell me. I can handle it." She said, "You don't understand. I heard it. You flatlined on the operating table twice. This, all you've been through." She said, "You might have the healthiest heart we've ever tested in our entire history of this hospital." I said, "Well, that's a good thing. Why are you looking upset?" He says, "I can't believe it. And you're 59 on top of that."
Now, Bobby, do you attribute that to your genetics, or do you attribute that to your healthy lifestyle?
Both. And I'll tell you why. My grandfather was born in 1906. When he was 17, he was in a car accident, and it was not a big deal, except that he was in a coma for 2 weeks. And when he came out of the coma, the doctors told him they didn't induce that coma. That was just a coma. Mine was induced. So when he came out of the coma, the doctors told him he'll never live past 52, 55, maybe 58 if he's lucky. He was born in December 1906. He died in January 2007. 100 years and 1 month. So my genetics are good, but I also know that my healthy eating, and I've been taking supplements since I'm like 13.
What supplements would you recommend, though? What supplements would you recommend out there? Because I was in the supplement industry myself for 30 years. My brother Duke on Fourth Quarter Talk, he's big on. In fact, everybody in here, you know, we attribute a lot of our healthy lifestyle to supplementation. Because I mean, let's face it,
I'll tell you what,
have the nutrients in there. And
I'll tell you what, I take pantothenic acid. I take berberine, curcumin. I take berberine and ginger, coenzyme Q10. Can't write them down. I take too much stuff to write down. But I'll give you a great example. I had a double hip. I needed a double hip replacement. I got put on a product called Protandem. I saw it. I read about it, and I thought to myself, I got a friend of mine who said, you got to take this. It's a miracle drug. Should be a miracle supplement, and it's not a drug. I said, okay, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. There's no one-stop shopping for anything. And what it is it's a combination of herbs and vitamins in one pill, all nutraceuticals, that if you take it, what it does is heal every cell in your body. But watch this. The doctor has 3 patents or 4 patents on it. He gets the product to drill a hole inside your cells, your healthy cells, get inside the cell and create a protective wall on the inside of the cell and heal it from the inside out. No one has ever been able to do that before. So I thought to myself, sounds good. I'll try it. So I had them send me a bottle, 30-day supply. It's $49.99 a month. So I said, send me a bottle. So they sent me the first bottle. I take it every day. You only need to take once a day in the morning with your meal. And I eat my first meal because I'm too old. I eat my first meal is lunch. Long story short, I take it for about a week, 8 days, and I call him. I said, "Look, doc, this didn't do anything. It doesn't work. It's just not for me." He said, "How long did you take it for?" I said, 8 days. He said, "Take it for 30 days. That's the saturation." He said, "Are you familiar with the saturation process?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "I need 3 to 4 weeks to saturate your system for it to start taking effect and stay right." I said, "All right, what the hell?" After 3 weeks, the pain was cut in half. After 4 weeks, no pain. That was literally 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I haven't had my hips replaced. My orthopedic surgeon called me. He said, "How are you still walking? I can't believe you can stand up." And I told him what I'm taking. He said, "I can't believe it works. But if it works, I don't want to." He said, "I don't need the money. I don't want to cut you open for cash." He said, "I find that to be incredible." So more things around that. I took I have my hips problems. I have bursitis and in my shoulders. I had arthritis in my neck, my spine. I take a lot of D3 for that. Several thousand. It's called international units a day. And I'll tell you what. As long as I stay on these supplements, I have no problem. I can walk. I can run. I can do whatever I want. And I'd rather not go to the hospital. I'd rather not walk through the airport with a metal hip and a metal leg.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much we have in common as we age, bro. I want to get that last supplement you were talking about for the arthritis, man, because arthritis is crippling me, and I've gotten off Oxycontin. I've gotten off benzoyl.
I'll give it to you right. I'll give it to you right now. I'll give it to you now. I'll give you the lady that'll get it to you. Here's what you have to do. All you have to do is call the woman. Her name is Susan Erb. Susan, Susan. Last name is Erb, E-R-B. And then she's going to ask you how she got her number. Just say Bobby Czyz. Because what they do is multi-level marketing, which I don't really like. But I have so many friends of mine on it that it works for them that I now not only get my supplement for free because it's paid for. I get a commission above it. So her name is Susan Erb, Susan and E-R-B. Her number is 415 320 3733. 415 320 3733. And she asks you, if she asks you, just say Bobby. And here's the thing. If it works for you, and it doesn't work for every single person, not every single person has the same results. But I have about 12 people on it.
Bobby, I've tried everything, and my orthopedic tells me the only relief is double shoulder replacement. So,
yeah, you will watch this. Watch this. Hey, watch this, bro. Bruce, see these glasses? See these glasses?
Yeah.
These are reading glasses, only for small, like really tiny print. I had glasses because I couldn't see after the Holyfield fight because of whatever he had on his gloves. I took those glasses and I threw them in the garbage. My vision was 20/45, 20/50, back to 20/25, 20/20, 20/25.
Hey, why don't we talk about that Holyfield fight after this, man? Because that's a story in itself.
Well, it's an old story these days.
Well,
Nobody cares.
Oh, believe me, it's maybe we can't do anything about it, but brother, it's interesting, and people think today's boxing is dirty. I mean, tell them some of the shit you had to go through. We'll start off with that Holyfield fight.
Well, look, every fighter's gone through a repertoire of things. There's guys I fought that always thumbed people. Guys that I fought that hit low below the belt. There are guys that headbutted. There are guys who did all kinds of things. Rubbed the laces on your eyes. I mean, they could do whatever they wanted on the inside. Everybody got slick, sneaky. I didn't, but just because I didn't believe in cheating. Well, the Holyfield fight, I believe before the fight, when I was training with Tommy Parks, we trained to fight all out. And I told him, I said, he's going to underestimate me. And when he hits me, he's going to think that after the first round or 2 rounds, he's going to be able to knock me out, and that's the end of it. He's not going to train for a long fight. I have to get to the later rounds, 8, 9, 10 rounds, and then he's going to be so exhausted he can't win. And after the second round, my eyes started to burn so bad. And somebody said, well, maybe it was sweat in your eyes. Now, I train and spar every day of training camp for 6 weeks. And I get sweat in my eyes every day. Never did it burn like that, ever. It burned so bad that it's peeled the skin off my face. A whole layer of my skin peeled off my face. And my vision went from 2015, 2020, the day before the fight, to 2045 and 2050, 3 days after the fight. And the doctor said that I had a caustic substance of an acid, probably an acidic base, rubbed in my face. I found out 2 years later from 2 state troopers that it was the Holyfield. The rumor was that he used some Tabasco sauce, and I don't know if that's a fact or not. I can't prove it. I don't care. It's behind me. I don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, Bobby, watching you grow up, when I was growing up, you were a middleweight. Yet, I mean, I don't think anyone ever thought that they would see you as a heavyweight, especially fighting Evander Holyfield. What made you move up to heavyweight?
Well, I moved up to middleweight, from middleweight to super middleweight because I had to, then light heavyweight once again because I had to. I filled out, I matured. I'm thick. I'm not tall, but I'm thick. And the cruiserweight, I did it just for money, and I believed I could beat Daniels. I believed he would never know I could box from the outside like that, and so I did. But moving up to heavyweight, I boxed in the gym. I have a great chin. I boxed in the gym with guys like Ray Mercer. Ray Mercer's 235. I weighed 190. Ray hit me with a right hand one day with a 16-ounce glove, and I had headgear on. He hit me with a right hand. He was right in front of me, and I couldn't find him. Wow. That's how bad it hurt. But I bounced back pretty quick and hit him with a 3-punch combination. And he said, I don't believe that. He said, I just hit you with the best right hand I ever threw, and you come back with 3 punches in my face. I said, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's the job description, bro.
Hey, how about you? We're talking about weight now. Now, how about that fight at 160, your last fight at 160 with Mustafa Hamsho, bro? I mean, Mustafa's a dog anyway, but from what I understand, you couldn't make that 160 anymore.
No, I couldn't make it. I was taking water pills for a couple of days that Lou Duva gave me before the fight, and I was drained. I was dehydrated. I was terrible. I was so weak. It was terrible. Plus, I hit him with a right hand in his forehead that broke the metacarpals in my right hand, the top 2 metacarpals, My right hand broke right through the top of my hand. So now I'm fighting one-handed.
Oh.
Now,
Now,
wasn't a good day. Wasn't a good day, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Somebody asked you out there, my brother Carl Hansen. He said, "Can somebody ask Bobby who he rates as his best victory out of his 44 wins?"
I would probably say Robert Daniels, because Robert Daniels, and this is kind of funny too, he was a 4.5 to 1 favorite to beat me in Vegas. I have a friend of mine who bet 20,000 on me. He actually netted more money than I did for the fight. Well, not really. I did get paid well for that fight, but he made a fortune, and nobody thought I could beat Daniels. He just could come off wins over top cruiserweights plus the white Muhammad Qawi. And look, that was a badass in that cruiserweight division.
Hey, Scotty, we haven't talked to you in a few minutes. How about you? Someone asked your best win in your career.
My best win in my career. Maybe Anthony Andrews.
And why Andrews?
I don't know. Maybe Sheikah. I Sheikah.
We're gonna show Sheikah up here, Scotty, if you don't mind, man. We're gonna put it on the big screen over here, brother, because this is like almost like being in a bar over here, man. We can talk and we just keep the TV on. The drinks keep coming. Mad Chad keeps picking up the tab, and man, right now we got Omar Sheikah against Scotty Pemberton. Is this the first fight? I'm not sure, man.
I don't know.
I'll figure it out in 1 second.
It looks like it's the first fight.
Omar Sheikah's that's a big, strong man you're fighting in there, bro.
I remember watching him on USA Tuesday Night Fights. He was like fighting every other week or something.
He sure was.
And he was just doing very well, and like people were talking about him. And I had a fight at Rose on a Patuska. I seen him in the audience, and I pointed at him. So then, like after my fight, I would go out and have a few drinks or something, to relax a little. And I had gone out the next day, and then my trainer paged me, because back in the day we had pages, and he paged me. So I called him. He goes, "You want to start Omar Sheikah tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yep." I put the beer down and went home. So. And when we spotted at Tiny Richie's gym in Rhode Island boxing, and I had my way with him. He didn't even touch me when we sparred. So I was like, I can't believe that was Omar Sheikah after we sparred. And then about a year went by, and then they asked if I wanted to fight. We were going to fight each other, and I was like, there's no way he wants to fight me, because he knows I can do sparring. And then I started thinking, well, maybe he let me do that to him sparring. So, because I was the NABF champion, so he could get a fight with me, So, but that wasn't the case at all. I think I had his number.
Bobby, did you ever call any of Scotty's fights on Showtime? Or Scotty, did you ever fight on Showtime?
I fought Showtime against Jeff Lacey.
Did you call that fight, Bobby? Were you with them then?
I think I was. I can't remember it specifically, but I was with Showtime for a little over 10 years, and I would have had to call that show unless I was. There were a couple of times that I was, training still, because I was still fighting, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, you called.
I know Lacey had a few fights with us, but I don't remember them.
Right.
You also called Scott Pemberton and oh my gosh, what's the other fight? No, I'm sorry, my fault. Yeah, you're right. You called the Pemberton and Lacey fight. I'm sorry. I was thinking of another fight.
Quite the career. Bobby, who was the hardest you ever got hit by? Who the hardest punch you ever got hit by, aside from that Ray Mercer bash in the sparring?
I'll tell you what, Ray Mercer, that's the hardest punch I've ever been hit. I have also fought a guy who was really tough. He wasn't ranked in the top 10. He was a little bit slow and a little bit short. He was a bald guy at Cruiserweight. His name was Mike Fisher. And he hit me with a right hand once in my ear. My whole entire left ear swelled shut.
Ooh.
Now I know how the fighters get cauliflower ears, okay? But it's the only time I've ever had that happen. But he was also, he could punch with any hand. Unbelievable.
Scotty, how about you? Who's the hottest you've ever been punched by?
Probably, I think Charles Brewer. That guy could punch. He was
Yeah,
like
Charles
body
Brewer.
shots, boy.
Yeah, Brewer could punch.
Mm.
Yeah. Charles
The
Brewer
hatchet.
was the hottest puncher. Yep.
Man, this is like Tuesday night fights coming to life over here.
The good old days.
The good old days. So, what did you guys think of Canelo Alvarez this weekend, Bobby? That's light heavyweight. I know you're not into a lot of the boxing today because I mean these guys over here on the internet, they blow me away. They just start whipping out names and titles, and it's like, what do you guys do for a living? You just study boxing. But anyway, man, everybody knows about Canelo Alvarez and Dimitri Bivol. What did you think of that fight?
You know what? I didn't watch the fight. I didn't even know the fight was happening. Unfortunately, I hadn't been following it, and I've been doing some other businesses on the side that have to do with my brain, not my body. So I was dedicating a lot of time to doing some other things. I didn't see the fight though. I was a little bit shocked at the outcome though. A little bit.
I seen the fight, and I personally don't think that you can be that successful being 5'8" as a light heavyweight. When you're fighting, that guy is just so much bigger than Alvarez. You know, he's just bigger, and he fought his ass. He just fought a very smart and good fight. He worked his jab, and he did what he had to do.
Well, you know what? There's always the exceptions to the rules. Rocky Marciano was 5'10", took out guys 6'2", 6'3", 6'1", and nobody touched him. Well, they touched him, all right. They cut him up, but nobody beat him.
Yeah, but that's Rocky Marciano.
Right, I get it. I do get it. No, I really do get it. But sometimes you think you could take on everybody in every division. Doesn't always work that way.
Yep.
Hey, G5's in the building too. I didn't introduce me. He comes on Tuesday night fights all the time, Bobby and Scott. Big fan of boxing. Young kid. He knows his shit. He's a historian in the making. So I want to introduce him, my brother G5, Bobby Czyz, and Scotty's a Sandman Pemberton.
And let me say something real quick. By looking at Omar Shika and Scott Pemberton, man, these fighters today would not last 3 or 4 rounds with these guys. Look at Scott's reach in his right hand when he throws right hand. He dropped you though, Scott. He dropped you.
Dropped you.
But I'm telling you, them guys can fight,
trick
man.
you. Stopped us at the right time, bro.
Yeah, them guys can fight, man.
And this is at Foxwood too. They have a lot of my money, Foxwood, man. I'm glad they're giving us some good fights for returns. Hey, Bobby, you mentioned that you got fired on HBO for your 4th DWI. And your comeback.
Showtime to meet you guys, though.
It was Showtime. Yeah, it was Showtime.
Yeah, give us your comeback line on that one more time, please.
Well, there's not really a comeback line except that, okay, you upset that I have 4 DUIs, with the 3 was okay. That's not why I was fired for telling the truth. Showtime fired me because some of the hierarchy. There were times that here's the problem. Both HBO and Showtime and any other big network that's going to get in bed with boxing has to get in bed with some certain promoters, and there's an understanding that some fights are not going to be called necessarily perfectly. And when fighter A is kicking the hell out of fighter B, and fighter B gets the decision, that can only mean one of 2 things, nothing else. It mean that the judges are incompetent and don't know what they're doing, or the fix is in. Nothing else will serve that outcome. If one fighter A is beating fighter B, and everybody gives fighter B the decision, they're either incompetent or there's a fix. They either don't know what they're doing, or it's fixed. And I kept saying, if you follow the money, and the money goes back to Don King, or the money goes back to this Lou Duva, or the money goes back to Bob Arum, whoever the fighter was fighting for, they were keeping the let's call it the legend in the making alive, so that he stayed undefeated or not beaten that day. And unfortunately that's a bad practice, but that's the practice.
And that's why they let you go.
Yeah, but they said it was because of the 4th DUI.
Of course.
I knew otherwise because I was told if I keep telling the truth, I'm going to get fired. And now I have a choice. If I'm asked a question, now I have a choice of lying to save myself and lose my integrity and become a regular schmuck. I just don't like that.
You know, you brought up HBO and Showtime. In 2002, Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis fought, and I worked for HBO back then. I was a producer, but that was a pretty historic fight because it brought HBO and Showtime together, and you were one of the, you called, there were two crews. They split.
Right, I was the expert. Yeah, I was the expert analyst doing the fight. Yeah, I was the expert. Well, they took the best of, they took what they put together their meetings, and they thought to themselves, who's going to be the best blow-by-blow guy, and who's going to be the best expert analyst. Now, I don't know how Larry Merchant could ever be a better expert analyst than I am. He never even took one right hand to the chin or left hook to the ribs. So how would he even know what a fighter's going through? No disrespect, but he can't be a better expert analyst than me. And whether it was Steve Albert, who I thought was great at everything he did, Jim Lampley was a known guy that had a great start of even. He was just, seemed to present himself better. That's what they did. They got behind closed doors. They picked who was going to be the expert analyst, who was going to be the blow-by-blow guy, and that the other team would be a backup just because or just for whatever. And they also called it. Larry Merchant called it with Steve Albert, and I don't know how that went because I didn't watch it. I only watched the live show that I did with Jim Lampley. It's the only one I watched.
Would you go back to Showtime again if they asked you?
I think I would. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I would.
Do you still keep in touch with those guys like David Dinkins and everyone?
Well, David Dinkins is the first one who. David Dinkins was the first one who recognized my ability to talk about the fights, talk about myself, talk about things in the boxing, and articulate so clearly and eloquently. And he said, "Look, one day I'm going to work with you." He told me this. And then 4 years later, there was an opening. I auditioned for the spot, and then I did what they call a live audition. And while I was live for the first time, I was a little tight. But when they came back to me with the camera for the second time, it's like I've been doing it for 20 years. I was cool after that. First time I got my feet wet, I was good.
Natural.
It comes natural to me. I know the business, and on top of that, being a member of Mensa has its little perks where I'm a smart guy, right. So I know a little more than most people.
Man, Scotty, how?
It's funny. Back in the day when they found out I was a member of Mensa, and I turned pro I turned down 4 pre-med scholarships in the senatorial appointment to West Point. They said, "How smart could he really be?" But I had my reasons, and my reasons.
So somebody asked me that today. Somebody asked me the same question. They said,
right here.
You answered it. You answered it already, bro. Great stuff, Scotty.
Well, here's the reason. Here's the reason. I'm as I told you earlier, I'm not a religious person, and so I don't believe in here pie in the sky, by and by I'll be here forever in spirit. I want to be in the history books now, forever going forward, and in 3 different weight divisions during certain years. I'm the cruiserweight, the light heavyweight, and the super cruiserweight champion of the world forever going forward till 1,000 years after I'm dead. That's what I wanted to. I wanted to establish some immortality. And I did it.
You definitely brought it to my show, my brother. I appreciate it.
It would have been a hell of a bummer if I didn't make any world titles though.
Well, you got two of the big ones, bro. And you were. I can pull magazines up. You were rated #1 cruiserweight in the world, and that's not a WBA, WBC rating. That's like World Boxing, Old Ring magazine, where everybody was included. And Scotty, another pit bull. Man, look at this fight. This is a dog fight over here, bro. I didn't realize how much action was going on in this fight. How many punches did you guys throw?
I don't really remember.
Oh man, I'll tell you. We need a.
He had other things on his mind.
Yeah, this is. This is great stuff. This is great stuff, Bobby. And in New Jersey now, how many of these fighters did you know? Because New Jersey was famous. Lou Duva's restaurant, Rocky Lockridge.
I knew a lot of loose. I knew a lot of loose fighters because we trained in the same gyms many times, or in the same camps. But throughout Jersey, believe it or not, fighters don't necessarily hang together. There's not that many fighters that I really hang out with on a regular basis because we just come from different circles, different areas, different parts of geographically.
Bobby, did you? I know you said the fighters didn't really hang out, but Tony Ayala was with Main Events back then. Did you ever get to spend any time with him and get a sense of who he was as a person?
Yeah, I did. And you know what's funny? And maybe it's not, technically it's not so funny, but it's coincidental. Let me say that. His father was a lot like mine.
Mm.
Why do you think all his sons fought? He
Right.
did the same thing. He did the same
Right.
thing. But I don't think Tony Ayala, I don't think he had the same mental skills that I have and the same education that I got. And I don't know that his children, that the other brothers did as well as my brothers and I did. We all had good educations. And my one brother's a chiropractor now, and the other one's he's actually a professor. He's a professor in college, teaches in colleges, and he's a writer. And my father always used to, even though he wanted us to fight, he wanted one of his children to be a fighter and go on to win a world title. And me being Robert Edward Czyz Jr., his namesake, it's only apropos that it wound up being me. But at the same time, he used to say, you have to have balance. You have to have smarts, and you have to have a certain amount of physicality. And he was right. You have to be able to handle yourself physically, and you have to be able to be sharp mentally. You'll never get through life without both of them. Not easily.
Scotty, how'd you get into boxing? Because we know Bobby, we heard how Bobby got in, but how did you get into the sport?
Well, my father had an amateur boxing record of 62-2. I did a little boxing at the YMCA when I was about 6 or 7 years old for a few months. And then I didn't, pick up a glove until I was 18 years old, and I fought in the Golden Gloves. I trained for maybe a few months, and then I joined the military. I was in the military for 3 years. I got out of the military, was hanging around for about 2 years, and then when I was about 25, 26 years old, I had been going out to the bars with my friends and stuff. I fighted in about 30 street fights throughout the years, and one of my friends thought, you have a talent with fighting, you ought to do something with them. So I trained for a few weeks, and I fought in the Golden Gloves that year. And on the Southern New England Golden Gloves, I won. I knocked out everybody I fought. So I said, God, tell me what I need to do. And then I took it from there. I only had like 9 fights before.
Wow.
Scott, you fought a lot of fights in Providence, didn't you, man? Around the route. I know you fought at the Strand Theater. I saw you there. Oh man, it must have been 25 years ago, bro.
Yeah.
You remember fighting at the Strand?
Yeah, I fought at the Strand, Rhodes on the Pawtucket.
Yeah.
The Biltmore.
The Biltmore. Oh.
I fought at the Civic Center.
The Convention Center?
No, the Civic Center.
No,
they call it the Dunkin' Donuts Center.
Yeah. Oh, I must have been there 20 times. I saw Vinny Paz fight there.
There's Vinny Paz right there.
Bro, yeah.
That's sports.
Man, I sent Vinny a tweet. I asked him if he would come on tonight, but he didn't get back to me. Man, I mean, dude, right? Yeah, Providence Civic Center, and right next door is the Convention Center. They just built that in the last 20 years. But that Civic Center, I saw Muhammad Ali do a exhibition there. I mean, that place has got some ghosts in the wall, man. The Providence Civic Center, great venue. Yeah. You ever been there, Bobby? I'm
not sure. I don't think so.
It's I mean, we don't have a lot of boxers in Providence, man. Right now we have Demetrius Andrade. He's our local hero, and I don't know what's happening with Demetrius Andrade. I don't know if any of you guys are following current boxing, but he's a WBO junior middleweight champion, and he's only had 14 years of boxing. I don't think he's fought a world champion. It's kind of difficult to go behind the guy, but man. I'm a homer. I'm a homeboy. I go for the home man. Marvin Hagler when he was fighting, that was my man. And Demetrius Andrade, I really wish he would get busy. He's into his 30s now, and
Bobby, you brought up Tommy Hearns before, Bobby, about a fight that you wish happened. Besides Tommy Hearns, is there a fight in your career that didn't happen that you wish would have?
I'm sure if I go back in my mind's eye and think about it, that I could pick up a couple, but not really. I mean, as a light heavyweight, I pretty much fought everybody that I was at the time, and the Williams fight things worked out badly. The referee gave him a standing 8 count in an area where there was no standing 8 count, and I had overtrained for that fight. I was exhausted, so things didn't work out that well. But I fought pretty much everybody I wanted to. I just never got it. I never got that $1 million payday. That's what I was always looking for, the $1 million payday, the 7-figure challenge. And any one of them that would have had that kind of money, I'd have been happy to do it.
Not even for Holyfield, you didn't get that big money, huh?
No, $350.
That's incredible, because we look at guys like Dillian White, who just got a fight with Tyson Fury, making $8 million, and he's still bitching about that. And he gave us 5 rounds of nothing, basically.
Nothing.
Well, you know what? Here's the funny thing about fighters. Fighters and the regular public. I've seen people all the time say, "Man, I'd fight him for $300,000." I said, "Who would pay this? Who would pay to watch you fight him? Nobody. Nobody would pay to watch you fight him. That's what you have to earn. There's a process that you go through. You go from fighter to fighter. You get a reputation. You beat people. You beat people of a good caliber, and then people will start paying to see you fight. And even at that, it'll take you years of doing that before you get anywhere near fighting for millions. And that's just the way it is. But everybody thinks, oh, I'd fight Mike Tyson for $5 million. Yeah, and you get killed in about 30 seconds. And that would be the end of that. No one's going to pay to see the $5 million, to get you to $5 million. No one's going to pay to see it. They don't understand that you have to develop that. You have to develop skills.
Well, it's the top fighters in the world, like Bud Crawford. He fights 3 times in the past 3 years. So we don't see these fighters. They don't fight like they did back in the day, bro. I mean, Bobby, how many times did you fight in your most active fight in a year?
Well, when I first turned pro, I was fight every 2 weeks a couple times. I had 3 fights. I had 3 fights in my first month. So you have, but again, that's a 4-round fight. It's not a 10-round fight or a 12-round or 15-round fight, and it's a big process when you're talking about a 12 or 15-round fight. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of conditioning. There's a whole lot of things that goes into that, and this smallest thing could throw it off.
And it seems like there's so much litigation. Fights get canceled. They get postponed. Not now. We're just coming out of the COVID, or we're getting back into it. But the inactivity it's insane. How even seasoned veterans they're fighting once a year, and that's the norm these days. So how are boxing fans supposed to accept that? How's boxing supposed to cultivate new fight fans?
Well, you know what? The sports in every arena, the sports always adapt to their surroundings, and they change and make adjustments to where they need to settle into the environment that's around them, and it's gonna be no different than a stadium that's collapsed that needs a new stadium, or a change in rules of something that happens that needs to be addressed. Just because it's gonna evolve like anything else.
Right. Yeah, Bobby, you fought. I'm looking at your record. You fought 9 times your first year as a pro in 1980, and you fought twice in May. So that's you don't even see that nowadays. Even with fighters starting out, they don't fight that often.
You know what? I don't. It's not. I can't speak for what people do today. I can only speak for what I did at the time. I was, fighting, and what was my idea of what was right. There were times when I fought. I could only take off 2 days because I was fighting in 2 weeks. Couldn't take off more than 2 days. You start to lose your edge. But at the same time, you don't want to go back in the gym too quickly because then you overdo it and you burn yourself out. They call it the sweet science, and that's just what it is. A little bit of a science.
I talked to a lot of retired boxers today, and a lot of these boxers they have no resources. They have no medical coverage. I mean, a lot of these guys are really they're on a shoestring. Bro, you landed on your feet. You have any advice for fighters that are in the game, how they should prepare for their retirement? Because it's just not happening, man.
Something I alluded to earlier, that my father said you have to have the brains and the brawn. You have to have both sides of the equation. You have to have a way to go further. Your body can only last for so many years to produce money, or basically do the sport or do the job. Then eventually you got to use your head. A lot of people don't have the education, and it's a suppressed minority of each era. Every single set of years that becomes the top people in boxing for the most part. Now, because the money's so big, you get guys like Floyd Mayweather and other guys who are not dirt poor, who are not in gangs, who are not in the streets, and they go to the boxing because they can make money and because they can be, really excel. I would tell people to get a good education. Without an education, you will not have the knowledge to do anything.
How could boxing help retired fighters, and why isn't boxing doing more to help retired fighters like Bruce just talked about?
You went cut off.
I said
completely cut off.
What can boxing do to help retired fighters, and why doesn't boxing do more to help retired fighters?
Well, they can't really do more, and the reason is they don't have an organization. You have, even like the PGA, even though you're one golfer against the whole field, there's the PGA has an organization, and the organization is put together and there's money involved, and there's people who donate and people who pay deep fees, and there's fees for every tournament. Well, it's just, boxing is pretty much the only real sport that it's do or die. First place is great. Second place is last place. Second place in the Kentucky Derby, you get paid. Second place in the Daytona 500, you get paid. Second place in the football field, you get paid. You get paid well. If you came in second every year in basketball, you'd be a millionaire if you're on that team. Now, that's not going to be boxing. You come in second more than 3 or 4 times, you're a has-been immediately.
Right.
And that's something you got to live with. If you got to understand that, but again, you have to have the intelligence to understand that going in, knowing full well if you haven't gotten out, you better make it.
You think these fighters might be afraid to risk their undefeated record because they're like you said, if you get 2 of those L's, then your stock goes way down. But that's depriving us of the best fights.
Nobody wants to lose, but that, again, you're right. You're depriving people of the true champion.
But
the 2 undefeated guys won't fight. They should be forced to fight. It should be.
Let me go back to Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, Sugar Ray Leonard had that 1 L on his record, but even that was like a badge of courage. And when Hearns lost that fight, he went on to win titles in 5 different divisions after that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that should be an example. Give the world your best fight, and you'll only get better whether you win, whether you lose, whether it's a draw. But fighters don't have that mentality.
I'm going to tell you this, and I learned this. Not necessarily the hard way, but I learned this in actuality. The fact that I was a good white fighter in a sport that was predominantly black and Hispanic, everybody used to call me a great white hope. I said, I'm not a great white. Who am I hoping for? I said, I'm white and I'm hopeful. I hope I do well, but I don't represent the guy down the street, even though he's white. I don't represent him. I don't even know him. Right. But people used to identify with me just because I was white. which is really not right. It's not the way things are meant to be, and it's not how it stacks up, because they don't get in the ring and get their head handed to them like I do if I don't do the right thing, if I don't perform well. I get the beating, not them.
Right.
I get the beating. So there's a thing about that, and for years and years, and when early on when I was fighting, everybody said, "Oh, here's a white kid who can fight, and he's beating some good black fighters." Look, and I understand. And again, I understood it. But that's why they used to jokingly call me a white boy with soul, because I never fought white. The first time I won a junior Olympic tournament, I was in a tournament that nobody knew me, because it was my first tournament, and I won the state tournament. And after the fight was over for the finals, and I won, they came back in. 2 or 3 of the boxers surrounded me, and he said, "You don't fight like no white boy." And I did the same thing I always do. I look at my skin. I go, "I look white to you," because I think it's funny. I'm a fighter. I'm not a white fighter. I'm not a brown fighter, a black fighter, a yellow or a red fighter. I'm a fighter.
Right.
My blood is the same color as everybody else's blood, even though their skin's a little different. Same color blood. And I know, but I get the stereotype. I get it, and I know why. And I part guilty myself for some people. They'll say, "Oh, this guy's this, but he's a white guy." I say, "He can't fight. Don't even need to see him." And that's not always the case, but 90% of the time it is the case. Because you're not going to be, and I'll say this, and I know some people say I'm wrong for saying it, but I'm not wrong. I know this from history and from experience. If you're 15-0, if you're 15 or 16-0 back in the 80s in my division, and I never heard of you, you have to be white. Because you're fighting people that nobody's ever heard of.
Right.
And if no one's and then at the upper echelon of the division are black and Hispanic fighters that all had names who were feared and respected a whole lot. And you would know their names, and if you lost to them, there was no real shame in it. But if you ever beat one of them, well, you put your name immediately on the wall. But it is what it is. That's people. It's human. It's human nature. They can't help themselves. It's part of being a human being.
So 1986, you won your first title.
September 6th, 86. Yep.
What was that like? Because I think a lot of people may have expected it to come sooner, but the fact is it came. So what was that like when you finally become a champion? What every fighter wants to do.
Well, I got to give you a little background first. The first time I went to the gym, I was 10 years old, 1972, September. I was born in February of 62, so I was 10 years old. In a few months, I turned 11. I trained in September, October, November, December, all the way up to February the 9th, the day before my 11th birthday, to spar. And I sparred with a kid who was about 28 pounds heavier than me when I weighed 75 pounds. And that's a lot of weight. And I beat him mercilessly. And my father was training me at the time, not the trainer in the gym. The trainer in the gym saw what I did to his fighter, and it pissed him off a little bit. So he brought in another kid who was 13, who was a 2-time junior Olympic champion. And I looked at my father, petrified. And my father said, "You do this, son. You do." And I was more afraid of my father than him, than the fighter.
Right.
So I went out there for the next round, and I literally handled him and took him to school. And I did a couple of moves that one of the pros in there showed me, and he went crazy when I did the move. And that day, brothers, sisters, just people that were there in the gym, onlookers, I got a standing ovation. That standing ovation at the day before my 11th birthday, at the age of 11, that day, I knew I was special. That day, I believed I could be a world champion. I said it's going to take me 14 years, and I was, again, 10, almost 11. I said it's going to take me 14 years to win a world title, but I'm going to win one. 14 years later, on September 6th, 1986, I won my first world title. And when I did, when he raised my hands, for the first time, I understood why women cry when they're happy. I started to tear up, and I stopped it right away because I was like, "Oh my God, they'll think I'm soft."
Oh no!
Yeah. Nobody's gonna think you're soft. No, sir. Scotty dipped out, bro. Too bad, man. If he wants to come back in, he has the link. Correct, Trick?
Yeah, he got it. Hey,
Yeah.
Bobby, I got a question. you fought let me-
Bobby dipped off for a second.
Oh, Bobby.
Yeah.
Okay. Bobby dipped off. I'm tripping. I'm
Bobby and Scott. Well, Scotty's gone. Bobby looks like his Wi-Fi might be challenging him a little bit.
He's back again. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, he's back again. Oh, good, great, man, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Where did I cut off?
You were talking about almost crying, and then you held it back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
And when you
I
understood for a special fighter.
I understood for the first time why women cry when they're happy, because I had just literally walked into eternity. I was immortal that minute of that day, and it was it had been my life's dream, and it was accomplished. And on that day, I mean, I believed I was special. I felt it. I felt like I could take on the world. It was the greatest feeling I've ever had.
Wow.
Hey, Bobby, I got a question.
Sure.
You say you sparred with Ray Mercer.
Yes, many times.
Yeah, sparred Ray Mercer. Can you break down how would a fight go between Ray Mercer and Mike Tyson?
Well, here's what I think off the top of my head. See, I know Ray real well, and my trainer Tommy Parks used to say that. He said, Bobby, if Ray ever trained as hard as you do, with his chin and his power and his ability to box and punch, he beat them all. But he would never train that hard. He never really trained 100%. He never gave it an all out. So it's hard to say what Ray shows up with, because Mike Tyson, when he's training, he shows up with everything. He shows up, to kill. I think it would have been a great fight for as long as it lasted, but I guarantee it would not go the distance. One of them would be taken out of there, for sure.
I got one more question too. The night Nigel Ben and Gerald Mcclellan fought, what was that atmosphere like when you were over there commentating that fight?
When I was over there, it was obviously they're all Nigel Ben fans, and I'm an American, so I'm rooting for Mcclellan. But you could see something happen to Mcclellan before the eventual outcome. You could see something happen to him. Something went wrong, and I even said off mic that something's wrong. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. He's not acting like himself. Something's wrong. See, Gerald Mcclellan, and here again is a part of the game that people don't know. Gerald Mcclellan would, before the fights, he would dry himself out, so that before a fight he's 160 at the weigh-in the night before the fight, and come fight day he's 173. He could put on 10 11 pounds in food and mostly water, rehydration, but that process is something that can catch up with you, and I think that may have had something to do with what happened to him. He may have been slightly dehydrated and got hit in the head. I think that may have had something to do with it, but I'm not 100% sure. I just know that while he was himself, he was dominating and destroying Nigel Ben, and that speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's one of the tragedies that happens in our sport, and I can't even really watch that fight. I turn my head away when somebody tries to show that fight. Just
well, it's the same with Ray Mancini and Dooku Kim.
Right.
You don't want to see, but listen, it's a risk we all take when we step through those ropes. It's a risk we know it's not an inevitability, but it's something that's a possibility. And as much as you want to ride that wave all the way to a world title and all the fame and the women and the gold and the jewelries and the cars and the money and the notoriety, that's great. But guess what? There are some bad side effects too, even to great fighters.
Well,
now, Bobby, how about we see a lot of fighters now. They call it punching syndrome. After they pass away, they call it the CTE.
You know what it is? Technically, it's called puncher's dementia.
Puncher's dementia.
Right now, here's what it is. Now, I'm going to try and break it down for you, because I just had a conversation about this the other day with a friend of mine. He said, you still speak perfectly like a college teacher. I said, well, I'm lucky that my brain stayed intact. See, here's the thing. Technically, every time you get hit in the head, even if it's a jab, not a hard jab, it's a concussion. If it shakes your brain just a little bit, it's a concussion. So technically, I have had hundreds of thousands of concussions over 26 consecutive years of boxing.
Wow.
So there's a lot of damage that could have happened that did not happen. Now, some of that is my genes. That's my genetic structure. And some of that, I suspect, is just living properly and eating well and supplementing, including my brain, the rest of my body. But here's what you'll find. I know a couple of fighters, and I don't want to use their names, that I used to talk to, and this would be after like the careers were over and my career was over, and I'd run into them at a fight dinner or something, and I would run, and they would slur their words, and I would think to myself, does he know he's slurring his words? Does he really know how badly he's speaking, or does he sound like he's saying the word properly in his head? I didn't know, and I never had the heart to ask them because I didn't want to make anybody feel terrible.
Right.
But there were a lot of fighters and I was reasonably close to some of them, and I'm like, oh my god, he's got puncher's dementia. And these are guys, a lot of them that didn't even have a career like I had. 18 years as a pro, 6 weight divisions. I fought some of the biggest bangers in the world, and they didn't. And they're out, they had maybe 15 or 20 fights, and they were out, and they can't speak. They can't form the words. Now, I don't know if the punches themselves cause an abrasion on the brain that would in fact necessitate that problem, or if it contributed to that problem, or if there was a nerve in their jaw or in the side of their face that maybe got hammered and maybe beat up a little bit, that also didn't really work and connect with what your brain's telling. Your brain tells your mouth to speak. Your brain tells you to formulate the words. So what I'm wondering is, did the brain get hurt up top, or did the muscles get hurt down below? There's a combination of things that it could be, but I'm not a doctor, even though I could have been.
4 times.
But you know what? It is a shame, though. It is a shame that and a lot of times I get this distinct impression that they don't really know, that they don't sound well. That they don't sound like, they sound normal in their head. I think they sound like they're articulating correctly when they're not articulating it.
On the other hand, Bobby, a trick has hooked me up with some fighters, and I've talked to them on the phone to set them up for shows, and they'll tell me, I've been punched in the head a lot. You're gonna have to call me the day before and remind me, because I forget. I've actually been told that they've told me I have CTE, but I've run into fighters like that who admit it, who know it.
Well, you know what? There are some. I'll give you a great example. I was in a bad car accident in 2007. I almost burned to death in the car, and they medevaced me to the hospital, and they induced a coma immediately because I almost burned to death, and they couldn't fix me. The pain was too bad. It was too violent to help me without putting me in a coma. So they put me in a coma for 28 days. When I came out of the coma, I couldn't remember a lot of things that started to come back a little at a time. But I said to the doctor, I noticed that the doctor came in, his name was Dr. Garcia. And he would come in and he'd say, I'm Dr. Garcia. I said, how are you, Doc? The next day he would come in and say, how you doing, Bobby? I said, I'm doing good, Doc. He said, what's my name? I said, I don't know. He would do this for like 4 or 5 days. I didn't know. And eventually he said, you have what's in your brain. You have short-term reverberating circuits and you have long-term reverberating circuits. The long-term reverberating circuits are your long-term memory. Short-term reverberating circuits, obviously, short memory. The drug they used to induce the coma to save my life, because I almost burned to death, the drug also wreaks havoc on your short-term reverberating circuits in your brain. So what he said was, most people lose their short-term memory. I said, well, when does my short-term memory become long-term memory? And I'm good. He goes, doesn't work that way. He said, you may never get your short-term memory back again. Now, by coincidence, about a week ago, my friend Christine, who I'm staying with, had some friends come by, and her nephew, and introduced me to a couple people. And I said to him, listen, I said, excuse me, but if I ask you again what your name is in an hour or 2 hours, I said I have short-term reverberating circuit problems in my brain because of an accident and the medication they put me on. And I remembered their names later that day, the next day, and all week, which was very, very unusual. So I think I may have just rounded the corner.
Wow.
Maybe because a couple of, even I have family. Like my mother's one of 9 kids. She's 8 of 9 kids. And my grandfather, who was her dad, he was one of 5 kids, and my grandmother was one of 6. So they all had like, between the 2 or 3 generations, it's like 400 people. They're just everywhere, and they all get married. I can't remember all my cousins.
I'm going to tell you something, Bobby. A lot's going to happen when you're between 60 and 70, bro. I'm on the north side of that right now, and believe me, you're going to see it. We go through our whole lives nothing. I could kick ass till I was 59, and then I turned 60, and all of a sudden, this started to hurt, and bro. It's like what?
But I have a couple of little tricks I do. Like I'll give you a great example. I went to the bank to get a debit card, my 6th one in the past 2 years. And you say, why 6? Because 5 of them somebody else has been trying to trying to use them because I don't know how they're getting the numbers, but somewhere along the way they're getting the numbers. So the bank canceled it, put the money back in my account, and cut me a new card.
Ooh.
And I said, after the 5th card, and now I'm on my 6th card. After the 5th card, I said to the lady behind the counter, I said, listen, do me a favor. Find out what's happening on your end of the bank thing, because it's not my end, because I don't give my number over the phone, and I don't give my number on the computer. I memorize my card every time I get a card. So now I'm on the 6th card, and I memorized it. I memorized the card. I memorized the expiration date, the security code. I have them all in order. But see, here's the thing. I also have to throw out the other 5 cards in my head, because the other 5 cards I memorized too. So I have to throw those 5 out.
Guys, bro. I'll tell you, Mensa guys have got that Rolodex going on up there, man.
But here's what's funny. Here's what's really funny about it. If you tell me what the 5th card was, ask me what the 5th card was, I could tell you the first 4 numbers. That's it. If you ask me what the new one is, I could tell you all 16 numbers off the top of my head, because I can see them. I can see them.
Guys, I remember very clearly when Riddick Bowe fought Andrew Golota. I think it was the 2nd time. Riddick Bowe was a funny, well-spoken guy.
Mm-hmm.
After
he has dementia. Yes, he does.
No, but I mean when he fought Golota, they did a post-fight interview with him, and he was literally slurring his speech on the air when he wasn't before. And I had never seen like such a quick change in a fighter.
You never seen it go from A to Z in the same hour.
Right.
I had never seen it do that either, but I did remember when I saw Riddick Bowe a couple years after he retired, and I had been retired before him because I'm obviously a lot older than him. And he said, "Hey, champ," and he said it a little funny, and I went over to talk to him. He was slurring his words, and I thought to myself, "Oh my God!" And he was sitting in the cheap seats when he should have been sitting down at ringside where I was, and I didn't get it, and I didn't ask because he wasn't speaking very well. So I just assumed that things didn't go as well for him as they did for me. You can't pick you can't pick your parents. You can't pick what sex you're going to be when you're born. And you can't pick the fact that you're even born.
Well, so a lot of things you can change it now, though. Nowadays you can change your sex.
Yeah, not in my book.
I know.
Yeah. You know what? There's only 2 sexes in the world. That's it.
Exactly.
Well, and I guess there are. Here's the thing: even if you are bisexual, you're still born a single sex.
Right.
That's it.
I grew up watching Gilligan's Island, and Ginger and Mary Ann. They told me that I was heterosexual when I was about 10 years old, brother.
Well, yeah, I was a heterosexual at 4. So what's the difference?
I don't know. Before that, I kind of wanted to move in with my best friend Roger. I said, "Oh, we're gonna make a great couple." And it was like, "Hey, wait a minute, man. These girls are starting to look good now, man." It's like, "Hey, things have changed, but bro."
Well, usually your maturity in that particular area in the teens, that's where it starts in the teens up into early teens to mid teens. And then by the time you're 19, you should definitely know where you're going.
Oh, for sure. Well, I was a late bloomer. I'm talking 10 years old. After that, I was Don Juan. You kidding me? The nuns were slapping my face back in parochial school, bro. So, hey, and believe me, my wife is slapping my face now. 67, and you know, good food,
Well,
exercise, good genetics, brother. I'm with you, Bobby.
you know what? You can't ask to be born to certain people with certain genetics. You can't pick your genetics. You get them. That's all there is to it. Some things are just what they are because of.
Well,
Again, sometimes people say they always say the saying, "There, but for the grace of God, go I." No, I think not. But there, but for the grace of happenstance, go you. Because here's if lightning's going to hit the ground, lightning actually comes from the ground. I'm not going to go into that whole thing anyway. But if you're going to get hit by lightning, and the guy standing 3 feet from you doesn't get hit, does God have something against you on purpose? Did you piss him off? Or is it just that lightning happened to hit that place and you were standing there? See, I always have trouble with the finite. Maybe finite's the wrong word, but in 1980, that's a perfect example. In 1980, when I graduated high school, I was 18. And a straight A student, and I knew for a fact that there are only 9 planets in the universe. Guess what? That's a crock of shit. There aren't 9 planets in the universe anymore because now we can find billions of planets. Because of the Hubble and other telescopes, we can find literally we can physically find millions, but the potential for billions is there. And just by statistical anomaly, there cannot be one intelligent species in amongst all those planets. It's not possible. But you go to the Bible, it'll tell you that we're the only ones in the universe. And now I got another problem with that. But I think they hung up on me.
No, we're still here, Bobby.
Oh yeah, yes, we're still here.
You guys blacked out. No, you guys blacked out for a minute. I thought you hung up on me.
Never.
I'm just teasing. Look, what I believe is what I believe, and it is what it is. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to find out the hard way. But the funny thing is, if I'm right, I'll never get to say I told you I was right.
Right, man. This is going deep with Bobby Czyz. This is going deep. With
think about this. Think about this. If you're around the house and you have time on your hands, and I have some time on my hands these days, aren't you curious about anything that's so deep that you really have to go the extra mile? I got a computer that could take me into thousands of libraries at the same time, into millions of libraries at the same time. It could take me to Einstein's theory of relativity and a number of different things and places and people. And yeah, I'm curious about some stuff, so I want to see what's the real deal.
Bobby, what's a typical day like for you? Because you just said you have some time on your hands. What's like a typical day now for Bobby Czyz?
Well, typical day right now. I'm not going to give you the specifics of some of it because it'll jinx me. But I get up, I get up anywhere from 7:30 to 8:30, give or take. If I sleep in, I make it till 9. But I don't sleep very well. Again, I was curious too, and that's another subject I was curious about. So I called a friend of mine who I know owns the International Brain Mapping Foundation. International Brain Mapping Foundation. He knows everything that's going on in your brain better than you do. So I said to him, I want to know what's going on up there because I'm having problems sleeping, this, that, and the other thing. So I run into him coincidentally about 4 months after I talked to him at a golf tournament, and he had 2 of his neurologists there, and they heard me talking about multiple different subjects like we're doing today, and he said, "Are you always this fluent with everything?" I said, "Pretty much. If I'm interested in, I try to learn about it. And now that we have computers, I can go into every library in the world and not leave my room." And he said, "We'd like to see what's going on in your brain." I said, "Well, that's funny because I want to see what's going on up there too." And he said, "What's your problem?" I said, "I can't sleep." So they send me. We go to the thing. Now I go in. They put all these electrodes on my head and all this stuff then they put me in this big tube and I go through all the crap. And then I do a couple other things. They take my blood, they take my urine, they take my spit, and they said, "We'll get back to you in about 5 or 6 days." And he said, when they get back to me, he said, "Listen, We learned a lot about you. I said, okay, fill me in. He said, what you hear, you almost forget immediately. I said, I know that. He said, what you see, you can almost remember forever. I said, yeah, I know that. I take a picture of it in my head. He said, your sex drive is off the chart. I said, I know that too. I said, why can't I sleep? He said, you know what? The right frontal lobe of your brain is supposed to shut off at night and light up during the day when you're awake. Shut off when you're sleeping. Yours doesn't shut off, ever. I said, well, isn't that great? He said, how do you sleep? I said, I take 1,000 milligrams of inositol, which is a nutraceutical, or GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, somewhere around 10 at night, and a couple of glasses of wine, and I sleep. He said, you know what? They both work on the right frontal lobe of your brain to shut it off. That's exactly what he said. How did you know that? I said, it's called research. I have doctors, asking me how I got myself to sleep. And I'm like, you want to help me out here or what? But they knew exactly what the problem was and why the problem was. And again, so I get caught on that. Also, sex drive. I've always been very, very happy that like the doctors, when I was in a coma, they said your testosterone levels in your body are off the chart, Bobby. He said off the chart. He said your blood oxygenation level is 99%, and you weren't on an oxygen machine. He said that's almost impossible. What do you attribute that to? I said genetics, good genetics, and I eat right, and I take supplements that attribute to some of the things you're talking about. They help keep things intact, healthy. So I don't want to be 80 and walking around with a walker and somebody else helping me to my seat and feeding me. Not going to happen. I shoot myself first. I'm not going to. That's not living. That's just staying alive.
Right.
Big difference. I want to live to the last breath I take. And so I study a lot of things.
Bobby.
And so I study a lot of things that intrigue me. I did a study. This was interesting. I have a couple of cousins that are gay, and one's a girl, one's a guy. And I actually, I tried to talk to him, and he said, "Look, I just can't explain to you. The same way you look at a girl, I look at a good-looking guy, and it's the same thing goes on in my head. I can't understand it." So I got ensconced in this study. The study was from the 70s. Now you picture this: they had 100 confirmed gay men that had donated their bodies to science. So they had all these bodies in a freezer. And as time went by, and they had subjects that they wanted to do different. So you have to have a certain amount of subjects for it to become law. If you do study on 17 bodies, that doesn't count because it's just not enough people. But if you have 100, that's a quota minimum. So they did a study on these gay men that had donated their bodies to science. They cut them up, the brains, they cut up the internal body, all organs, the genitals, everything. Tested everything with all kinds of subjects, all kinds of substances, and blah blah blah. Make a long story short, 98 of the 100 men, 98 had a malformation in the hypothalamus gland in the brain in the exact same place, and a deviation in the exact same genetic code. Now, the results from the study and the experiment was technically being gay as a man is a birth defect. So I asked, why didn't they do the same thing for women? Because they didn't have 100 women that would donate their bodies to science. Now watch what happens. Watch what happens. Fast forward in the same group of scientists. They thought that they could probably somehow shortcut people who are pedophiles. So they thought they should do the same study, except pedophiles will never admit to being a pedophile and donate their body to science.
Right.
So you can't get 100 pedophiles to do that. But they had a couple that died in prison. I think it was like 7, and they did studies on them, and there were similar problems with their hypothalamus gland and similar problems with their genetic code. Not the exact same one, but they believe they would have gotten similar results. That the people can't help what they can't help what they are because they can't help what they want because it's inbred in their system by nature, or as some people would say, God. And I don't know, the guy wants to make pedophiles. I can't reconcile that with anything.
Boy, you should have a show, Bobby. I mean, you need to have a show, and not a boxing show, just like a Going Deep with Bobby Czyz show. That's what it should be.
That's what I have to call it.
Because you go deep, you're going deep on
really, man. You know, you were really making me think about myself, because I get about 5 hours sleep on a good night, and I don't get tired. I have to send myself to bed after midnight.
I have stayed up 72 hours and 74 and a half hours without drinking, without any drugs, no stay awake drugs, 72 and 74 and a half hours in a row, without just because I was up. I just didn't force myself to lay down. And the doctor said that's dangerous. So he said it's technically dangerous, but then I needed like 12 hours of sleep, or 14 and 15 hours of sleep. Otherwise, my body's going to depreciate itself of certain amounts of oxygen and other supplements that make me stay normal. Not that I'm completely normal.
Who wants to be?
I don't know. What is normal?
Exactly. This is why you need a show, Bobby.
That's funny. I did back in the 80s and 90s. I used to do interviews with people. Say again.
You were talking about the 80s and the 90s.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh no.
Oh no. That means you are.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you were talking about the 80s and the 90s.
Maybe I got cut off this time. Maybe they cut me off.
Oh no.
Somebody said, "Oh no."
Yeah. We're still here, Bobby.
It's funny because when I used to do interviews one time I did an interview with a woman from Philadelphia, and she said, "I only asked you one question." She said, "You answered all 5 of my questions." I said, "Well, one sort of transitioned into the other, and I just figured I'd give you a nice long, answer."
Well,
the deeper, the better.
You've been educational on boxing, on bro. I mean, it's like I'm back in college in a neurology seminar over here, man. I'm telling you, I'm looking at you with cap and gown right now, Bobby. Like they used to dress you up back in the day.
Yeah, I heard that and I saw that, and if I'd have gone to college, I would have graduated. Trust me.
Hey, it's never too late, Bobby. You can always go back.
You could ace it. You could ace it.
No, I have a. Let me explain something to you. You know the word luck, L-U-C-K. The real definition of luck is where opportunity meets the prepared person, man or woman, not relevant. Luck is where opportunity meets the prepared person. Well, every time there's a crisis, a worldwide crisis especially, every time there's a worldwide crisis, that's when new billionaires are created. Every single time. You can track it back forever. Well, this crisis that's happening with us with regard to the Donald Trump thing and the stolen election, yay or nay, the Democrats versus the Republicans, blah, blah, blah. There's a little bit of an international issue there. And there are a lot of things that have happened because of those things, because of the war we had with Iran, because of the war that broken out in different areas. And there, again, are areas where if you're smart enough and sneaky enough, you can become a millionaire or a billionaire if you're paying attention. One of the things I've followed throughout these wars and throughout these time changes, they go back and see history repeats itself. You want to know why? Mankind doesn't change. Basically, he's the same SOB he's been forever. He's the same basic. He's the same basic thing. So the fact that man doesn't change, okay, yeah, history changes a little bit because now we have rockets, and back in 1776 we didn't have rockets. So imagine if we did. But having said that, different things and evolution and society moving forward will change things, but they won't change the actuality of the actions that mankind has done and take, and what needs to be done to replace and fix those things. So I'm involved in something that I've been studying for 2.5 years that is about to happen. And if it happens, it's going to make me a comfortable retiree.
I wish you all the luck in the world, brother.
And as I said, luck is where the opportunity meets the prepared person, baby. And I'm prepared to get lucky always.
I'm assuming you can't. Can you talk about that, or you want to keep that under wraps because you don't want to jinx it?
I don't want to jinx it.
Got you.
Jinx it.
It's not. I mean, it's nothing illegal. It's obviously nothing illegal. I don't
Right,
do
right,
illegal.
right.
It's legal, but it's if I open my mouth, 900 other people might try and do the same thing and jinx it.
Got you.
There's a possibility of that.
Sit on that, Bobby, until it happens.
Yes.
Which all that happens on you, so you can kick your feet up and just be a comfortable retiree, like you just said.
Well, I'm gonna kick my feet up, put on the headphones, and join you guys.
Oh man, we need to join you when you get your show. When we going deep with Bobby Czyz.
You know what? I may do that. I may do that. And the funny thing is, if you pick a subject and I don't have a reasonable amount of knowledge about it, and I have a good deal of knowledge of a plethora of things, but at the same time, some things I know nothing about, I would have to dig in and find out, which I would enjoy doing. But it takes up a lot of time. It really does, guys. It takes a lot of time, and sometimes it's a headache.
The fact that you just used the word plethora is amazing. So, you know, hey Bobby, you said that fighters didn't really hang out, but have you formed a friendship with any fighter, particularly that you still have today? Are you close to any fighters?
I'll tell you what. There's a fighter, I think he was former junior middleweight and middleweight, Mark Medal.
Oh yeah.
Great guy, and we everyone I talk to him every once in a
Isn't
while.
he a policeman in New York?
I'm sorry?
Isn't he a policeman in New York right now?
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. That's very possible. It's not probable, but
yeah. Curtis Anderson told me that he got a ticket by Mark Medal, and he recognized him, and Mark ripped the ticket up because he had Mark Medal, and
he's a nice Mark's a great guy, and there are times when I was recently doing a show. I forget the gentleman's name, and he asked me if I knew any fighters, and I said Mark Medal. I said to him, I sent Mark to talk to him. Was it something about fighters, the toughness of fighters? I forget the title of the show, but it was something that I thought Mark might have some fun with. And Larry Holmes is a very, very dear friend for many, many years. And I know some of the fighters I don't know that well, but it's not necessarily, we don't have like a fight club where we hang out.
Right.
It just doesn't seem to flow that way.
Right.
Hey Bobby, I know you told me you're going to give me an hour. You gave me close to 2 hours here, brother. I know.
I'm a man of my word.
Oh, bro, you certainly are.
More than your word.
Twice the man of your word, man. And I appreciate it. And my brother G5 hasn't said too much, man. I'm sure he wants to ask you a question or say a few words to you. G5, go ahead, bro.
Man, I mean, I was in backstage just listening for a while. I knew he was flowing and y'all was locked in. I was just like, I parked the car. I was like, well, shit. Let me just park, just sit back and just let Bobby go. You know what I'm saying? But man, great career. I mean, great stuff. I mean, I talk about a plethora of things on my show early in the morning.
Plethora.
So
Yes.
I had to turn my camera off. I was smiling ear to ear. I was like, oh yeah, this is my type of guy right here, man. I'm like, yeah, I mean, the bag is deep, there is no limit to, what you can talk about or, or even if you don't know, you're going to go research. And that's how I am being always most of the time with these guys, the youngest person on the panel. Sir?
Let me ask you a question, G. Question for you.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I have people say to me, wow, you're pretty smart for a fighter. I said, so if I'm a plumber, I'm stupid? But they'll say you're pretty good looking for a fighter. I said, so if I'm a lawyer, I'm ugly? Why do you got to say for a fighter? Then you immediately limit that compliment. I hate that.
That's why, they said to me, hey, you look pretty good. Then they said for a 67-year-old man. I'm like, but what are you going to say that for? Why don't you just drop it?
Don't box me in.
Look, I do realize that I'm 60. So if I'm 60, I don't look as good as I did at 25. I guarantee you that.
Well, you wait 61, 62, 63. You're going to see, my brother. You're going to see.
Right, but here's the thing. There are certain things that are not related to age. Your looks are related to your age. Your intelligence is not necessarily related to your age. Right. And your ability to speak is not related to your age. And your looks are not related to necessarily your profession.
Mm-hmm.
Most fighters, I understand some of the fighters that don't accomplish a lot. Yeah, they have some not that pretty of faces sometimes. Nose is broke over here, broke over there. This is after surgery to fix it. My nose had been broken so many times and healed so well that they tried they had a sickle. They were in there with like a chisel, and they couldn't break my bone to fix it. And the doctor said I couldn't fix it. He said I had 3 other doctors with chisels. They couldn't break it.
Amazing guest.
So stuff happens.
Hey, genetics too. Genetics has a lot to do with it. You said that a couple different times. I was like, yep.
And it's one of those things. It's one of those things. If you're not tough, no matter how physically talented you are, I cannot teach you tough.
Right.
You can't take a shot. Can't take a shot.
Bobby, are you an ectomorph?
A what?
An ectomorph.
I'm not sure if it's a mesomorph or I'm not sure which one. Technically, I may be a combination or a blend of the two.
Okay, I get you, bro. But it's tough. You weren't blessed with the with the mesomorphic thoroughbred genes. You have to work for that.
Well, my genes are okay. I did what I had to do, and the genes I had were good enough to get to 3 world titles in 6 divisions. I'm happy with that.
Bobby, you still exercise today?
Not that much. I walk 2 or 3 miles to the store, back and forth a couple times a week. But I'm going to start working out again after this project I'm working on. Because I got to put 12, 14 hours a day into the project, and it's a pain in the ass.
Hey, brother,
but it might make me happy in retirement.
Anything you want to say before I let you go, my brother?
I hope you guys all have a healthy and happy lives, because without your health, you can't have happiness, and you need them both.
Hey.
Absolutely. Amen.
All right, guys. Great seeing you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chad.
For my show, my brother.
Thank you, Bobby.
Take care, guys.
Have a good one.
Hey, it doesn't get better than that, man. Bobby Czyz over here joining us on Tuesday Night Fights, and let's not forget Scotty Pemberton. We weren't prepared for Scotty. We had our questions ready for Bobby Czyz, and it was great to have Scotty on here too, man. So anyway, man, all you guys, I thank you all once again for coming on here. We had 2 great hours. I appreciate it, man. Everybody knows where to find G5. My brother Trick Nolte, man. He made this all possible. So thank you so much. And my brother George Jakovic, you can catch him one round with George. He sub to George Jakovic, sub to G5, and thank you so much, everybody, for coming on here, man. This is Bruce Goes, and we're out of here, man. Peace.
Peace, y'all.
Peace out.